Welcome to our next lesson. Before we get to that lesson, we're going to do a recap of lesson 3.1, which was reflections. So what you learned about reflection is it is a transformation dealing with flipping a figure. Just like if you look at yourself in the mirror, your image is being reflected. It's being flipped. We've learned that it's an isometry. That means the shape and size don't change. And the original figure is called the pre-image. And then the new figure is called the image. And the line of reflection is where the reflection happened of that image. So as you can see in this picture, M is the line of reflection. We also learned 3 types of reflections on the coordinate plane: over the x-axis, y-axis, and y equals x. So if there's a reflection over the x-axis, AB will become A negative B. So that means A is our pivot and the B will change, as you can see in the picture below. If it's over the y-axis, AB becomes negative A, comma B. B is our pivot, which is the y-axis, and then A will change. It will become negative or positive. And if it's over y equals x, the A and B keeps the same numbers, the same values, but just switches. So it's AB becomes BA. Alright. So there's a few examples, a few practice examples based on reflection. For the first one, they said both of them, they ask you to write a rule to describe each transformation. So if you look at the first picture and notice what's going on. If you said that it's a reflection over the y-axis, you are correct. Let's look at the second one. What type of reflection is happening? Look at the picture. If you said that it's a reflection over y equals x, you are correct. Let's go to number 3. 3 and 4, they both want us to find the coordinates of the vertices of each figure after the given transformation. So for number 3, it's a reflection over y equals x. So I already drew the line of y equals x. And if you know the rule of what happens with y equals x, then we'll be able to find the new points for the image. So this is the points that are already plotted. Now, what happens when you have a reflection over y equals x? What happens to A and B? It switches. So it becomes BA instead of AB. So all the numbers, all the points that you have will switch, and you will have L as 1, negative 4, and I'm going to plot these points using blue. Yeah. So 1 for L, it's 1, negative 4 for L prime. K prime is negative 2, negative 2, negative 3. And then we have M, which is negative 3, negative 5. And then I'm gonna connect those. So we have our image based on the reflection across y equals x. Now for the next one, it says reflection over the x-axis. So we have our points, already written down the points for this pre-image. What happens when you're reflecting over the x-axis? The A will stay the same and the B is the one that will change. If you got that, good. So now our A will stay the same and our B, so for x it will be negative 1, 3. For y it will be negative 3, 2. And then for z it will be negative 5, 4. Put that under here. So now we just plot the points to show that reflection over the x-axis. So y is negative 3, 2. X is negative 1, 3. X prime, I should say. And z prime is negative 5, 4. make sure when you have an image, a new image, it's going to be prime. And it depends also how many transformation that you do that determines if it's prime, double prime, triple prime. So be careful. And right, so let me just put that here. There you go. So that's the recap of reflection. All right, so today we're going to be doing translation. That's another type of transformation. And the objective is, how do we translate figures on the coordinate plane? If you can think back to that video that I showed you, they did mention about translation. If you forgot, translation is a slide where the image is shifted to a new location. So that means it either goes left or right, or it goes up and down. And in the symbol form, you will see T and then AB, meaning the two original points of the image, and this is what happens. Whatever, how many, the X and the Y tells you how many places that point is going to move, either left or right or up or down. So with the X, you know you're moving horizontally, and the Y, you're moving vertically, either up or down. So it depends on your A and B is your original points, and your X and Y tells you which direction you're moving and how much. All right, so for the first one, let me expand that. We have a rectangle that's PQRS and has the vertices that are written here. -3, 5 for P, -4, 2 for Q, 3, 0 for R, and 4, 3 for S. The translation states that you're going to be moving the 6 with the X, that's horizontally. The X, whatever you have for X, will be moving positive, 6 positive, and for the Y, it'll be 5 negative. You could also write it like this, T 6, -5. That tells you that you're doing a translation, and this is telling you how this original image or original point is going to be moved. So to describe this translation, basically 6 units to the right because it's positive, and 5 units down because it's negative. Remember, X is horizontal, Y is the vertical shift, up or down. Now it tells you to graph the pre-image and image and label all the points. So before I even do that, I had my translation telling me that it's 6 units to the right and 5 units down. So I just put it into that form. This is my pre-image, and this is my image, my new picture. And notice how it's prime. And I just plugged in all my X and Y into that formula. So this tells me that this is how many units that this point is going to move, either left or right. And then this tells me how many units will move up or down. So once I simplify and I get my new points, then I have my pre-image for P prime, Q prime, R prime, S prime. Once I got the points, then I plot the original, the pre-image, and then I plot the image. So all with translation. If you're not going to remember to do this, just put it into this form. This tells you whatever pre-image you have, this one is going to be XY. That means you're going to move this number, how many spaces, either left or right, and then this is the Y, which tells you how many you're going to move how many places you're going to move the point up or down. And it all depends on the sign in front of the number. All right, let's go on to the next one. We have a parallelogram, TUVW, and it has the vertices. T has -1, 4. U has 2, 5. V has 4, 3. And W has 1, 2. The translation shown here says that X is going to be moving -4 spaces, and then Y is going to be moving -5. And if you want to write it for short, You can write it as T, which means translation, and -4, -5. Describe this translation. You're going to be moving 4 units to the left, and then you're going to be moving 5 units down, because it's negative. Both of them are. So now it says graph the pre-image and image and label all points. So when you have problems like this, whether it's on a test, quiz, homework, if you're going to have to graph something, especially with the transformation, you always have to have two of the two pictures, the pre-image and the image. Don't give me just the image, because then when I look at it, I'm just going to assume that, oh, that's the pre-image and you forgot to do the image. You need to show both of them, because this tells you where you started and where you ended up with. Okay, so this one, again, going back to the translation, this is my original points that they gave me, and then I just use this to tell me, okay, I had this originally, and I'm going to subtract 4 to give me my new location for point T. And the same thing with the Y. So these are my coordinates. I just plug right in. And I make sure that I color coordinates. This is my original that I'm plugging in, and then I'm getting my new image, which is in purple. And notice how I have prime. You don't put prime, then you're going to confuse somebody if you have a point that's T and another point that's T. And if you were to tell somebody, oh, point T, which one? That's why you need to put the prime to distinguish. So after you've done all this simplifying and then you get your new points, then you plot. You plot your original, your pre-image, and then your new, the new image. Anytime during this video, if you're confused with where the numbers are coming from and how to how to plug it in and what's what, you can always pause to go back and slow it down to understand, or you can email me. Okay, the next one. So now we don't have a graph, but we have to use the rules of translation to figure out what the points would be, whether it's a pre-image or image. So this is the table below shows the coordinates of the pre-image and image of a rectangle after translation. Determine the missing coordinates. So we have A and C, A prime, C and C prime that are already done for us. So in order to know what happened, because we know it's a translation, we need to know what happened from 3 to 1, how many units did you move in the X direction, and then the Y, going vertical, how many did you move from 5 to 2? So if you look at it, and if you guess that for the horizontal move it was 1, and for the vertical move it was -3, then you are correct. So I put the translation T. This tells me the units that I'm going to be moving, and for the X, horizontal, and the Y, vertical. And if you looked at this, if let's say you didn't look at A, you looked at C, you will notice that, yes, from -8 to -7, you moved 1 unit to the right, and from 5 to 2, you moved 3 units to the left. So using that, you will be able to determine what are the points for B prime and D. So for B, since we're starting with the pre-image, we're going to add to get to our image, just like we did from A to A prime and C to C prime. So we add 3, we're going to get 4 for our X direction, and then for the Y, from -6, we got -6 plus -3, that will give us -9. So you should have 4, -9. That's doing one direction. Now we have to work backwards with D. We're starting with the image, and we need to know what the original was. So remember how we added to get from B to B prime, or A to A prime, C to C prime, D to D prime. From D prime to D, we have to subtract. So to get to the pre-image, we have to subtract 1 from -7. So then that means we will have negative 8. And from negative 9, subtract negative 3. Be careful, it's negative 9 minus negative 3. So the two negatives will make a positive, so it will be negative 9 plus 3, so that will be negative 6. So this is your pre-image. So remember, if you're going from the pre-image to the image, you are adding if they don't have the graph and you just have the coordinates. If you're going from the image to the pre-image, when you're translating, you're subtracting. Remember that. Okay, we just have another example. Let's look at H and see what's happening from 4 to 0 and then 7 to 9. From 4 to 0, what did we do? It seems like we subtracted 4. And from 7 to 9, we've added 2. Let's see if that works with this one. 6 to 2, yeah, we subtracted 4. 2 to 4, we added 2. So there's our translation. All right, remember, if you're starting with the image and going to the pre-image, we're going to subtract. So we got negative 7 minus negative 4. Remember, negative 7 minus negative 4, that will be 2 negatives that need to turn into positive. So I'm going to write it, which I should have done with the other one, but okay. So that will turn into negative 7 plus 4. That's why it's best to write it. If you can do it mentally and do it correctly, fine. If you're not so sure, write it. So when you do that, that will give you a negative 3. And then for the other one, 8 minus 2 gives you 6. So there you go. And then for this one, since we're going from the pre-image to the image, we're going to add. So negative 2 plus negative 4 gives you negative 6. And then 6 plus 2 gives you 8. There it is. All right, so now they tell us to graph each figure and its image under the given translation. Notice how it says graph each figure and its image. That means you have the pre-image plus the image. If you only gave me one or the other, then you're going to get partial credit. And don't let me take points away from you because you didn't follow direction. Do give me everything that they're asking you for so you can get full credit. And of course, you have to be accurate with your answers. So for 3, they give you a quadrilateral, TUWX, and the vertices, T is negative 1, 1, U is 4, 2, W is 1, 5, and X is negative 1, 3. Under the translation, which is T minus 2 and Y minus 4. All right, so since we're doing a translation, I put it for short, T, negative 2, negative 4. That means this is how many spaces units I'm going to be moving on the x-axis, like left to right. And this is how many units, negative 4, that I'm going to be moving up or down. In this case, it'll be down, and then for this one, we'll be going to my left. So I used, should I make this bigger? I had my original vertices that they gave me. I know I'm using this translation, so my x, I'm subtracting 2, and then for my y, I'm subtracting 4. I got my new points, my pre-image, which is all prime, t prime, u prime, w prime, and x prime. And once I've done that, I can plot the pre-image and my image. So the image, pre-image is blue, and the pre-image is blue, and image is purple. And this is a translation from the original to the old to the new. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Same thing. And this time this is a pentagon, and it has its vertices D, negative 1, negative 2, E is 2, negative 1, F is 5, negative 2, G is 4, negative 4, and H is 1, negative 4. And it's under the translation of T minus 1, Y plus 5. So if I were to show my translation in a shorter version, that means my t is negative 1, negative 1, 5. This is how many units I'm moving to the left, and 5 is telling me I'm moving 5 units up. All right, so once I've got that, I would put all the vertices that they gave me from D to H, and then oops, I think I goofed. I put the wrong thing there. Oh, actually, this one. So this one should be negative 1, and then this one should be positive 5. Okay. But everything else is all the same. All right, so there was just a little typo. Anyway, so I'm subtracting 1, and I'm adding 5. So now I got my new points, and now I can plot both of the figures. I've got my image, pre-image, and then I've got my new image. And that's how you do translation. I think we're at the end. Yep. So just to recap about translation, basically translation is a slide. You're shifting either left to right, or you're up or down. And you'll see it in this form, T, and then whatever numbers it is. Those numbers that is with that T tells you how many units you move in left or right for X, and then for Y, up or down. And it's all based on the sign. You could also write it this way, because this will tell you how to calculate the new points. So we did all of that, and then when it comes to graphing, always graph the pre-image with the image. So that way we know where you came from and where you're headed. And also, when you just have a table and you don't have an image, a graph with the image, when you're going from pre-image to image, you're adding. When you're going from image to pre-image, you're subtracting the coordinates. So remember that. And yeah, so rest we were just practicing with translation. And remember, like I said, if you have any problems, you're confused with what we just did in this lesson, feel free to email me. Don't wait for the last minute and then like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Feel free to email me. I will have no problem helping you out. Okay, with that being said, this ends our lesson, and have a good day.